Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question that is to understand a little bit more about psychopathic mind control. In other words, how do they get so entrenched in someone else's psyche to the way that it's sort of bound and what really becomes quite close or like an intrapersonal addiction. When we talk about a psychopath, a viewer made a great viewer statement or a comment, and that is about the confusion and shock that a psychopath will elicit. So let's look at it, and I want you to remember sort of as confusion and shock tempo. Let's just call it CAST, C-A-S-T, almost like a caste society where there are certain levels, if you can remember it that way. The shock oftentimes is this sort of energy, as we know, as well as statements, behaviors, actions, and thoughts in sort of deliberate and pre-calculated manipulation that takes you down really a rabbit hole, which seems like it's leading somewhere, but it's really leading someplace else. That is part of the confusion and part of the shock that renders people in a complete state of dysphoria and oftentimes resourcelessness, or really beyond a learned helplessness, sort of a panic-stricken state. It's very alarming, very concerning, and oftentimes very difficult to get grounded after that and sort of focused and centered. But when we talk about the shock element of a psychopath, there's an energy that pertains to people and personalities. So we can say they have a soothing personality, a comforting personality, healing, intellectual, charismatic. So, there's different personalities along the whole spectrum. And when we talk about someone who is psychopathic, it's to understand that thoughts are things, meaning thoughts create situations not only externally but internally as well, and it creates that energy. So if you're by a serene lake, a very placid lake, and your energy calms down, you're very cool, calm, collected, centered, focused. So that's why a lot of people will go fishing or for a walk and gaze upon the water, hydromancy, gazing at the water. If people want to take in healing, then they'll go, look at a calm lake. If they want to be energized, then going to a larger body of water, perhaps where there's a lot of waves or undertow, and it gets things churning, it gets their thoughts, going, and, sort of unjostled from that stuck or blocked state. So it's to understand that the energy, which is energy in motion, which is a fluidity, is to understand that a psychopath exudes an energy. And a psychopath will tell you it oozes out of every pore. In other words, the fact that they don't think or perceive things like other people. It's just what it is. They don't see situations, events, workplaces, etc. the same way. They don't look for the same things. They don't notice the same things. They don't discuss the same things. They don't have the same moral values. They don't have the same goals, perhaps as an organization. They don't have the same goals, for example, as a family. They don't have the same goals as a couple that you might have, and bring this into the relationship. So it's to understand that they will take advantage of this. In other words, the old cover-up story, the old cover-up facade, acting as if they're very, one way when they're underneath, they don't care a hoot. Acting caring, considerate, all those things, when deep inside there are ulterior motives. It is to understand that energetically, these people are very deliberate and calculating, even if this goes on for a span of months or years. Most people would think this unfathomable. They could not keep a lie going that long. A lot of people just can't comprehend the degree to which these people will operate. So that's why there's this sort of shocking element. But to understand that shock also relates to the way that they might enter a room, the way that they might use their body, the things that they might all of a sudden accomplish out of the blue, things that they have covered up, concealed, their duplicitous nature, seeming to be one way but really another. These people are experts at disguise and deception. When I say experts, a lot of people might think that they're quote unquote so good. A lot of men, for example, on the male psychopath might say, wow, he's a real ladies' man or a real man's man. In other words, he can work the ladies, or a woman, they can work the room. She's so, just like a social butterfly. She can just move from and transmute from one group to another and own the room, own the stage, all these sort of things oftentimes which you would maybe think of as a positive, but because of the thought process, which is energetically oftentimes felt, and the presence and then absence of it. So there's a real extreme oftentimes which pervades this person's personality. They can go from very nice, gentle, considerate to raging. I mean, it's just, you can't believe it's, a behavior within the same person. And it just seems to come out of nowhere and then settle back down and then all of a sudden seem forgotten by this person. They might not remember a real major fight, half an hour later or the next day. Things might have gotten, off the hook, off the chain, and then they just don't recall. They don't have, someone who is psychopathic in their mind, they don't have the same learning mechanism that people sort of learn from, a historical chain of events in a relationship. In other words, relationship building, bond building. There is no, development or growth. It might appear as if, but it's really completely vapid. There is, people might say, when you're in that sort of devalue and discard, the person just seems energetically absent all of a sudden. There's just a real energy shift. It's like it's a completely different person. It's shocking. And people have never witnessed it before, so they don't know what to do with the experience. They're just like left completely just shocked. They can't put words to it. They can't tell anybody. They can't describe it. It's oftentimes is very terrifying because people have never experienced this feeling before. The ability that they have to influence others is very profound and, dare I say, powerful. These are powerful individuals, meaning they have the ability to elicit emotions, feelings, behaviors, and thoughts in people which oftentimes they did not know they could experience. And not on the positive. It can be on the positive, but on the negative, it can take people in places they oftentimes cannot get themselves out of. It is an emotional quicksand that they can't get a grip on. So, if you're feeling, I can't get a grip on these feelings, I can't put words to it, I can't discuss it. All I know is I'm feeling something that I've never felt before. So people don't know what to do with it. There's this shock and confusion. It does not make sense. It doesn't compute. It doesn't, assimilate towards anything you've experienced previously. So realize that if you're in this sort of terrified state, realize it's going to get better. You need to understand that it is as a result of oftentimes this energetic disposition that a psychopath will have that's very it can seem very gregarious, or it can seem very charming. It can seem very outgoing, particularly. And so all these things, on the positive, but then on the contrary, on the flip side, there can be something very different lurking underneath the surface, completely, which disallows or is a contradictory opposite towards that which they have led you to believe, that is in violation of your current relationship building. So if you're in a close relationship, all of a sudden, they'll just say, oh, by the way, there's, you know that, we're not going to have kids, and we're not going to have a dog, right? So they'll say something very dispassionately, unemotionally, and even though you might have made plans to get a house together, to get a dog together, to make a trip together, to get married, and they just string people along. And it is oftentimes their ruinous shock when people are completely dumbfounded, and then this other person goes sing-songing along. They've got another relationship, another job, another house, another bank account, another trip, another child, another pet, whatever it is, it renders people flabbergasted. So remember that, that tempo with which they will conduct their relationships. It's not you. Perhaps you've just brushed up with somebody who's very manipulative. It's important for you to understand and get your feet back under you and work on not only understanding these types of people, but furthermore, how they were able to get so under your skin and become so influential. Oftentimes not in a positive way. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that the videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out, make it a beautiful day, and stay tuned. Do the work. It'll be worth it for you. Hang in there.